Hello, and welcome to our virtual annual discipline meeting for the 2022-2023 school year. For those of you who may not know me, I'm Dane Lamont, the School Partnership Specialist for Penn Highlands Dual Enrollment Program. As we continue to adapt to a post-pandemic environment and adjust to new educational hurdles, we are pleased that we can provide you with an opportunity to complete our NACEP required activities in a platform where you can still make a connection to your liaison. Throughout the semester, ACE Liaisons scheduled live Zoom sessions to discuss specific topics related to the disciplines in which you teach. While we understand that it is not always possible for you to attend these live sessions, these sessions were recorded so you can get the benefit of the event with the discussion from those who attended. Please enjoy the recording of your annual discipline-specific activity. We hope next school year we will be able to welcome you back to our campus for an in-person event. Thank you for your continued hard work in making this program available to students.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. If there's one person who said was going to join that hasn't joined yet, but we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks everyone for joining. I know evenings are not the best time. Everybody has lots going on, and to do these annual discipline meetings, it does take time away from your schedule. So thank you for showing up tonight. I appreciate it. Also, just as a side note, the school does think, and I think Kaylee sent this out in an email, that this will probably be the last year we're going to do it on Zoom. Next year, we're going to try to go back to having the dinner at the school for the meeting and having everyone there, and then break out into their rooms like we used to do it a couple years ago to make it. So that's the plan in the future. Also, just to give you some updates, if you didn't see, the program was reaccredited this past summer with the NACEP accreditation, so that was good. So we're good. I think I don't know if it's 3 or 5 years we get that accreditation for, and then you have to go through the whole process again. So some of you might be retired by then. In 5 years, and we have to go through it again. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where everybody else is too during that time period. But thanks for all your help in that re-accreditation too, because all the faculty members out there at the high schools are a big part of that. And that is there. So we kind of used to have the agenda, have the speakers and everything. This year, we're just kind of going to do an informal discussion. First, I wanted to let you know that if you haven't been contacted for a visit, that means you're not having a visit in the fall. I haven't got the list of people who would be visited in the spring yet. So I won't know that probably until close to the end of January. So look for emails in February if you think you're up for a visit. Remember, a visit is only every 3 years that you have to do, and only on years of your visit do you have to turn in the common assessment to us that's there for it. So we do have the current fall visits underway this year for it. Any questions from anyone out there? Pretty much everybody who is on has been with us for a while. So you guys are like old pros at this that are here. So we have had some newer faculty members join us in some different school districts. None of them are on tonight though. So, and I've pretty much seen almost everybody on. Malika, I think you're the only kind of new person that might be on, because Joe used to do yours all the time. So I now have biology, astronomy, physics, and chemistry. So I got all the sciences and anatomy and physiology too. So we're kind of doing them all with it. So that's why it was a little bit different this year. So so any questions from anyone out there, first of all? Malika, if you were saying anything, it was all jumbled. It was staticky. I couldn't understand anything.
Let go of the video. Sometimes it helps.
Okay. Yeah, it's very, very choppy. I'm sorry, I still can't really hear you. It's kind of staticky. Technology is great when it works,
Yeah.
and then when it doesn't. Okay, we'll go ahead, move on kind of the discussion question. If she hops back in with her question, we can stop and then answer it at that point. So the topic of discussion for tonight was mainly, what do you see in your students in lab settings? Have you seen a decline in their overall preparedness and understanding what to do in a lab setting is, what the expectation is in a lab setting? And are there any pathways to having recommendations to doing something to improve that if you've seen it? So the idea is we just kind of want to go around to everybody and just give some thoughts on that. And again, if it's just not in lab and you want to say something about lecture, that's fine too, that's there. And Yvonne, I'll just kind of pick on you because you're first at the top there.
At the top of the list.
Yeah.
Who I really can't say I've seen a significant. Are you guys hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I just seen noticed a real substantial decline in lab preparedness, but like it's, I think to step up and take those more advanced classes. Before COVID, I mean, I had 40 in 2 sections of anatomy. This year I've got 1 section of 16. So, and same thing, you know, like for my AP bio for the other advanced classes we're offering. So the kids who are with us are doing pretty well and seem like they're pretty prepared in general, but it's just like a lot of them are, I don't know what, you know, just not sure if they're up for it, or you know, aren't quite sure what their career pathway is going to be. And so they're just, you know, our numbers are down in general in these kind of classes.
Are they opting just to take more of the general science classes that the school offers?
Yes. Or even the math. Like our option is you that last credit can either be a math or a science. And so we have a microbiology elective that was designed, you know, for the lower level student who you just need another science credit, and you know, we'll, you know, get you some basics here. And like the good kids are taking that, like the, you know, like, come on, you're saying you're going on to college and this is not a class designed for you. You should be taking physics and chem 2 and anatomy and AP, and they're just, you know, not there. So I think some of it's just, you know, that COVID fear factor that I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm not sure if, you know, I'm up to that level, or been stepping through. And you know, as a faculty, we've said, look, you guys have to, you know, help them make those choices if they're looking to go to an institute of higher learning. They need to get in, and it's not just science, it's across the board. It's English and history, and all our higher elective numbers are down.
That is really interesting for it. Nicole, do you want to go next?
Sure. My numbers are actually higher this year. Last year I had 2 and I'm now up to 11. Woohoo. The kids, part of our challenge is almost all of our college level sciences are offered the same time. So they have to pick and choose. Or we are up against the other classes like AP history or a math class that's a credit, college credit, whatever. I've had to talk my kids through how to do more of the lab report write-up than I have actually doing the field study. They were excited to go play in the stream and find different things. But I think it's just, as Yvonne had mentioned, an overall apathy. My own kids are away at college, and we noticed that they were getting pleas from their music director even. The kids just don't want to commit. They do not want to commit to anything right now. And I think that's kind of where we're at. I've noticed even as I've talked my seniors into applying to different colleges, I'm like, apply to a couple, make up your mind once you get the offers. And a lot of them are hesitant.
Yeah, I'll throw in a little antidote on that. So today at the school was the transfer fair. So we had, I don't know, probably 35 different colleges there for it. And it was really funny because, again, our students who are going to the four-year colleges, they're 20, some are 21. And they're like, can you go with me? And I'm like, go with you where? And they're like, well, down to see the transfer counselor. I'm like, okay, we'll go together. And I'm like, what would you like me to do? And they're like, we just don't understand even like what to say. And I'm like, oh my gosh, where have we gone? So there I am walking with 20-year-olds down to the transfer counselors, introducing them, starting the conversation. And then once they got into it, it was okay. But it's funny that you're right. It's just like, I don't know, they've lost all confidence in themselves that they can do some of this stuff, maybe.
The basic executive functioning and social skills have declined across the board. It doesn't matter if there are academic all-stars or if they're the kid just taking the minimum to get out.
Yeah. John, what do you have?
I was kind of spoiled last year. I had a really good group of biology kids, and they did really well, and they did all the labs, and everything was ran really smoothly. This year, though, it's tough. Usually it takes maybe a week, 2 weeks to kind of whip the kids into shape. And here we're at 9 weeks already, and I'm still fighting with some kids to get some things done and just do the work and try your best at it and ask for help. And that's probably the biggest thing I've seen this year was just trying to get the kids. It's usually quicker than the pace that we're at now. And I'm slowing down a little bit so the kids don't get too far behind, but now I need to pick it up so we get everything in that we need to cover. So that's kind of where I am this year. Again, I was spoiled last year, I believe, with some of the kids that we had. They could pick other kids up, but this year there's less of those kids and it's harder to get good quality work done. But I hope we'll get there. I'm pretty confident we will. It's just taking longer than it usually does.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen, and John teaches at Johnstown. So I would probably say he's kind of the biggest, like the city school that we have online tonight. And then we're gonna go to Penny, and she's the exact opposite, which is a really small school for it. But I have a whole host of juniors that come from Johnstown, and they're in the associate high school program. And usually these juniors they're the best of the best, for it. And in astronomy this year, it's taken some time. And it's funny because they're like, oh, I missed a homework. I'm like, what do you mean? I missed a homework. That's not the attitude I'm used to, seeing from these kids. It was like, I'm on top of everything. Everything is done on time, and it's apathy. It's like, oh, well, I missed one. And I'm like, no, we have to stop that somehow. That's there for it. So Penny, we'll be interested to hear from you because you're in a very small school. So what have you been seeing? Oh, I know she's on. She's just still muted. Can you hear us, Penny? Oh, there she
Yep.
goes.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
It's been a tough 9 weeks. We're ending our our quarter this week, and apathy is a good description. I just cannot get students motivated. I cannot get the fire lit under them. Like, just taking, responsibility for their work and doing their labs and just doing their best work. I feel like I'm doing a lot of hand holding and I'm not really sure what's going on. Their writing skills are just all over the place. Their math skills are weak. I've had a really tough quarter, and I've got them, by now they're usually where they need to be. They are not, and I'm not sure what to do. They just will not. Confidence. I don't know how to get them. I just don't know how to get them motivated to take pride in what they're doing, because I know that they know what they're doing, but they won't demonstrate that. It's a lot of hand holding, and I'm really in a slump right now with these guys.
Yeah, well, it's nice to hear that it's similar from
Yes.
multiple different school districts, because I think sometimes we work in a box and we're thinking, is this just like it here?
Yes.
So it's nice to see from very large school districts to medium-sized school districts to small areas to the college level. And I mean, I do talk to educators at St. Francis and IUP and UPJ, and a lot of it is the same. Like, they're just not having kids come in. And even, Nicole, you said like your kids are away at college. My daughter's in college and she's taking, physics and calculus, but her class sizes are amazingly small. And I'm like, maybe it's carried over into there. I talked to a vet down in Bedford County. They've had an ad for over a month nationally. They can't get someone to come in and fill the position. They just can't find anybody. And that's scary to think maybe we're not having students go into these fields as much as they were. I don't know if you saw St. Francis, their PA program still had 12 open seats. That's unheard of.
I was just, hey, that's not her. Oh my.
Yes.
That is something.
Part of it probably though is because of COVID a little bit, and everything shut down, because you need 200 hours of shadowing time. And if you think about it, for the past 2 years or so, everything you couldn't shadow. So I do think that was, but again, they're hurting. Like, we did this to ourselves a little bit, I think, where now you don't have anyone to go in these programs because you stifled it and didn't make exceptions to, for that kind of stuff that you're getting into. So yeah, so that's kind of an interesting. I'm not sure where some of the other like PT, OT programs are in terms of applicants and how they're doing, but I just thought I'd throw that out. And then Malika, can you hear us? Are you able, is your audio working now? Okay, thank you. See there we go. Oh, okay. Do you want me to read this to everybody? Can everybody read that? Or you want me to read it out loud? I'll go ahead and read it, only since it's being recorded. It says, I'm typing as my connection is poor. This year I have more students, but not prepared. Only a few are ready to move on and take up the challenge. They complain a lot about work. I also have to compete with other DE courses. I do not do double periods, and one period is 45 minutes since COVID. So labs are tough to complete on time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So that seems to be a theme too. Nicole, you said about like maybe the school districts really need to look at scheduling.
Yeah, we were up against other classes that were worth college credit as well. And my course is AP Environmental Science that we do through Penn Highlands now that the kids have the choice, which this year everybody's going to Penn Highlands guaranteed credit, which makes it nice. But the school district wanted to take away the double periods. We can't go do a stream study without that double period. We spent a week in the stream in the backyard, but so you get everybody changed outside, do your
Yeah.
thing and back in, you simply have no time left to do anything.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping, I had to prove that we needed this course again this year, and they keep wanting to tear it away every year. So I'm hoping that, I can capture enough moments of kid enthusiasm that they help sell the class.
Yeah. Another thought too, and this is for anybody, maybe if you're struggling, is to contact Kaylee and ask, them to talk to the administration to explain the necessity for these double periods, how important it is, and also how it prepares them for going to college. Because someone said about writing the lab reports and how much extra time they're spending on that. I know for me, that is definitely something I've seen a major decline in, that they just, and their expectation and my expectation of, one sentence, I'm like, this doesn't tell me what you've done. Go ahead, Yvonne, what were you going to say? You're on mute.
Yeah, they're like, but I put it down, and I'm like, but you need to explain it more fully, so I find myself going in on a lot of my tests or on lab instructions and explaining that out. This needs to be much longer. I'm not making an assumption here that what this is. You have to say enough to convince me, or you don't get the points for it. And they're just like, but and I'm like, that's how labs work. You gotta do that. So that's probably, the biggest thing that I've seen or done. But otherwise, yeah. Sometimes they're just what they've been doing and don't want to step up to the challenge.
I sometimes wonder if technology has hindered them, because they're so used to writing very short text messages. They TikTok, they do everything in these very shortened time frames, and the amount of effort it takes to think outside the box and come up with these ideas, it's like we're just not having these problem solvers come to the table anymore to want to be able to actively do that type of work that's there. And it's a little scary.
Yeah.
I have been providing, and I don't know, how effective this is. I've just been playing with it, but been calling it word soup. So like I'll take a whole list of terms that are definitely appropriate to be used in a laboratory report when you're explaining your procedure and so forth, just like instead of using words like stuff but actually the actual terms that I'm looking for. And, they have to provide X number of those words in their explanation, or I won't even look at it. And to even get them to sit down and talk to each other, that's like beating heads. But to talk about how we're going to use these terms, to get them to start understanding the terminology, even to communicate, because they like the word mass, they'll use, well, it got greater. Well, what got greater? Well, what happened to the mass? The mass increased. Like just little things like that, just trying to get them. And it seems simple, but then to get them to formulate a sentence. So I've been playing around with that. I don't know how effective it's going to be or what the results are, but they're not even using the right terms. And so I'm giving them lists of terms that I'm using that I would like to see in those reports and see how they can use them. And it seems to be helping a little bit, but we haven't made it that far. So I don't know. I'm just trying to get some terminology out there and get these words out there, these scientific words to communicate the right kind of results, if that makes sense.
No, yep, that makes total sense. I've seen it, dealing with it, that they just don't. And again, they don't, and I don't know about, this goes back to maybe how we taught reading in the elementary school, that they look at a word, they don't attempt it, they don't know how to sound it out. And,
Yes.
It's like, you got to be kidding me. You're killing me here. And then sometimes it's sad because they're like, I'm going to be a dentist. And I'm like, yeah, we have some work, because I don't want you working on my teeth,
I even noticed my ninth graders They just want to define everything. They
Mm.
want it easy, like a study guide. They don't want to apply. And so
Right.
I've been making my 9th graders do an earth science class. Wybert Science does a big ideas concept where they have to map it out in a notebook and they have to apply it. And it's not going to be found by Googling the answer. And it's not short and sweet. And it, you know, the older kids are now getting onto that in the class that I'm doing for Penn Highlands, but the younger ones are still like, well, can't you just give me the study guide, what I need to study? It's like, no, work. You need to work.
You'll enjoy this one. I teach an online astronomy class. I've taught it since 2012, but I also teach a face-to-face version of it too. And I had an online student email me this semester and say, I didn't have enough time to look all the answers up to complete my quiz. And I said, per the addendum, you know, I pointed him back to it and I'm like, you gotta be, I mean, that, to your point, that's where we've gone. They think they're just going to Google everything and they're not going to come up with their own thoughts and, you know, that's there for it. And if it's not on a Quizlet that they can't cheat off of, you know, and sadly we created some of this, I think. And now, you know, those of us who are in the field, we're figuring out how to fix it for it. And I do think it's going to, my opinion, it's going to be a tough another couple of years for students to get back up to maybe what we were used to seeing. So
I'm trying
oh, go ahead.
I'm trying my audio. So can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. So I have the same issues with the lab. So I started giving rubrics. So telling them how many points they get and explain everything like verbatim, like, okay, you have to explain your errors. So a lot of times these students say, oh, we made a mistake in measuring. That is why we got 15% error. And I'm like, that's not how you say you make mistakes. That's not how you write lab reports. So they never use the procedure that whether their balance was, whether their beakers are not dry or something like that. They are not paying attention that, oh, one person said that. I said, you are supposed to read the meniscus right. You know how to read the meniscus. So you can say that the human error is not the only error. So I'm trying to improve, but I don't know. As you said, probably we have to tolerate this for another 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, definitely. So, but it's nice to know we're not on an island out there with it. So that's be good for it. I do try to keep them. I have 1 minute till 7. Is there anything that anybody else has they would like to bring up? Any problems, concerns, anything that I can take back to Kaylee with it? If you didn't know, we do have a new assistant, Dane. If you haven't, maybe you've gotten emails from Dane. His last name's Lamont. He was one of our English adjuncts, so probably most of you might not have had contact with him before because he was in English. But in case you get emails from Dane or Kaylee, he's new in that department this year, helping her out with everything. So in case you see that name, don't be surprised or think it's from, you know, not a real email or something that's going on. So anything else I can do for anybody's thoughts? If anybody has solutions, you know, to our problems, feel free. If you find something that works really well, I can get it out to all the science people. We're just going to keep trudging through. I always say, I hope I'm not rolling my eyes too much at students. I really try not to do that, but there are some days I'm like, you guys are killing me today.
Oh, I'm not afraid to say you're killing me today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like sometimes you're there like, okay, I need to turn around and take a breath because what you're asking me like, I know they taught you at some other point, and man, we are not having any recollection whatsoever that's there. And what's funny, another side note real quick. So you guys know I teach science, but then I also teach in the education division of the school for those teachers who want to go into education. I will say, believe it or not, we have a very healthy amount of students in the program right now going into elementary, and we've been getting more students going into secondary there. So that's been nice to see because we have some agreements. But it's funny with these students who want to be educators, because I throw stuff at them like this all the time. And they'll be like, that doesn't happen. I'm like, yes, it does happen. And I can give you 80 more other stories. And they don't think I'm telling the truth sometimes of what students have said and done. I'm like, this is what you have to deal with, as an educator. And I said, it's not just the students, it's dealing with your learning management systems, whatever your administration wants you to do. You have to troubleshoot all that stuff. So I said, you are just not there teaching content anymore. Your job is very comprehensive of many, many other things. It's therapist at times with students, that you have to be there for. It's teacher, it's colleague, it's, the list goes on and on that should do. So it's definitely crazy out there right now. But, hopefully we all make it through. We'll just keep trudging along. Most of us have been here for quite a few years. So hopefully we'll be able to continue. Malika, if you want to stay on, you and I can talk real quick about your visit, if that's okay. And then did anybody else have any questions, last minute thoughts, or anything you need from me? No, all good. Okay.
Thank you, Sherri.
Yep. Thank you, guys. And if I don't get to see you in the spring, I will hopefully see you at another visit in the next year or two. So, and good luck to everyone with the rest of the semester. And, we can only hope that it gets better.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You too.
See you. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.